Well, let me tell you something, brother.
Snort, snort, snort.
Kogan.
Drip, snort, snort.
I got the drip. All right, first question out of the gate. All right. First question out of the gate from Abdullah. Starfield, 30 frames per second opinion. I knew this was coming. If you don't know what Abdullah is talking about, yesterday there was a massive 30 to 40 minute digital presentation from Bethesda exclusively talking about Starfield. It was like a giant expose about this game. It talked about the characters, the world, the combat, the leveling system, the shipbuilding, the crew building, the sim elements, the action elements, the space exploration, the space combat, taking over ships in space. It talked about everything, okay? But the one thing they didn't talk about was the frame rate, because the entire presentation seemed to be running at 30 frames per second or lower. Whenever they went into combat, the frame rate visibly dipped when they were playing this game for their big blowout expose. And the question during this, when everyone's watching it, is, if this is supposed to be the flagship game for Bethesda, if this is the big new IP, why is the presentation running at 30 frames per second or lower? Right? Like, what is up with that? So they were interviewing Todd Howard, the head guy at Bethesda, yesterday, and he had this to say in an interview. I'm going to paraphrase, okay? Oh, yeah, we locked that game at 30 frames because we want to have the absolute fidelity and quality. Yeah, we want all of that. And so because we don't want to lose any of that, we're having it locked at 30 frames. Oh, yeah, don't worry. The game does run at 60 frames at times, but it does dip, and we just want it to be consistent. We feel like consistency is key in this game. We don't want it going up and down and up and down. So we're locking it at 30 frames, all right? And the hilarious part about that is, immediately, the Bethesda Fanboy Defense Force goes into effect. They come out of the woodwork. Oh, it's because the world is so big and there's so many elements in it. And because, did you see the sandwich hoarder scene? So there's a scene where there's a woman who says, I like to go to spaceships that I've taken over and I steal the sandwiches off the ship and I bring them to my ship and I have a pile of sandwiches in my storeroom as like a symbol of my conquests of enemy ships. I just pile sandwiches on top. And the hilarious part is they're saying, oh, see, because this game is tracking each innocuous, meaningless item, and you can keep those sandwiches in there, they don't disappear. That's why the game has to run at 30 frames. Because if it ran at 60 frames, it couldn't handle that. You fucking idiot. Unbelievable. The shit that they're saying to defend this game. All right? Now listen. Out of all the things I saw, I thought that there was a lot of good stuff that they presented about Starfield. All right? I'm going to be, when I do my full video about this on DSP Reacts, I'll go into a lot more detail. All right? I do feel like there was a lot of positive things that look good about the game. All right? The worst thing about it is 30 frames, because it didn't run at 30 frames. It ran sub 30 frames in combat. What this tells me is that they pumped an incredible amount of stuff into the game and never bothered to figure out if their graphical engine could handle it. And it can't. So they said, fuck it, lock it at 30, and now people will, you know, are just going to have to deal with it, because I guarantee you, the parts that run at 60 are probably like you're sitting in a room by yourself, picking your nose, right? Reading a data log off the fucking screen, then it runs at 60. But the moment you're stepping out into the open world and there's combat and there's stuff going on, I guarantee you it dips, and it's the graphic engine. It can't handle it. So they're, you know, again, they're throwing in the towel. Again, here we are again. It's 2023. We've got these current gen consoles that we know are capable of amazing, smooth 60 frames gameplay because we've got tons of games that run at that. But some of these big AAA game devs can't be bothered. We can't be bothered to have our big AAA game run at the frame rate everyone wants as the standard. Well, then I can't be bothered to say that your game is going to be good because I don't know. I really don't. I'll be honest. Yeah, if I was going to pay for this game, $70, I'd be pretty fucking pissed if I was paying $70 for Starfield and you were telling me it's going to run at 25 frames per second or 20 frames per second during combat. I'd be like, you're out of your goddamn mind. There's no fucking way I'm going to buy that. But here's the thing. It's a Game Pass game. So, because it's a Game Pass game and no one's actually going to buy the goddamn thing, we're all just going to use Game Pass, you know. Now, you're like, well, I guess it's a pass, right? Well, I don't know. You know me. If I play this game and it bothers me that the frame rate is chugging, I'm going to be honest about it. And I don't care how many morons on the internet make viral memes about me being critical about the game. I'm going to voice my fair and educated opinion on it. No, a AAA game from Bethesda in 2023 should not be running at sub 30 frames per second at any fucking time at all. There is no excuse for it. If it can't handle it, then downgrade the game. Maybe you went too far. Maybe you went too extensive. Maybe you delved too deep into the realm of something that you can't handle. Then fucking downgrade the game so it runs at fucking smooth frame rate. You can't have it both ways. You know what I mean? You know what they say? The dwarves dug too deep and they unearthed the fucking Balrog. Well, maybe they fucking unearthed the frames per second Balrog. And they fucked up. And they gotta rebury the Balrog. Anyway. So, that's my take on it. The game actually, from what they presented, has a lot of promise. But it's just that. It's promise. Because on paper, the game sounds good. But the question is, overall, will that translate to a fun game? That I don't know. But the frame rate issue is inexcusable. It should be running at 60. It's not. We have to settle for 30. If this thing dips below 30, fuck that shit. I'm sorry, Bethesda. This is their chance. After a bunch of fails, right? To show that they're still at the level they used to be. It's been a long time since we had a new IP from them, and it's certainly been a long time since we had any kind of a huge AAA release from them. This game better shine. If not, it's going to lose a lot of confidence. Like, no one's going to have confidence in Bethesda anymore. So it's got to be good. They better not fuck this up. Easy Mode said, I will gladly play a 30 frames per second game if the game is fun. Listen, I agree with you. If this game is stellar and has tons of fun elements to it, great story, you know, so much stuff, it's immersive, right? It feels unique and interesting. That's another key thing. It feels unique and interesting. I don't want Starfield to feel like I'm playing Fallout again, but in space. I want it to be something unique and interesting that stands apart as its own intellectual property. Do you understand? And I need it to be that for me. I don't want to play Fallout again. I don't want to play Skyrim again. I want to play a unique new experience. If that's the case and it's fun, I don't care what the frame rate is, as long as it's not buried under, you know, I don't want to be chugging along and dropping and feeling like shit. Easy Mode says the deep dive into Starfield gave me more confidence than the other reveal. Oh, of course. They actually went to the gameplay elements. They explained everything very, very, very in depth, which was good. You know, the first gameplay reveal, you didn't even know what it was. Like, is this No Man's Sky with guns that, you know, with combat? That's what it looked like. Now it looks a little different. I would say the combat looks pretty fun, but I'm afraid it's going to get very grindy and repetitive. That's going to become Borderlands, you know, which I hope it's not. I hope it's not Borderlands, because then you're going to fall asleep. I guess we'll see. I says, how do you think the 1,000 planets will look? There's no way they handcrafted thousands of quests and lore. No. Here's what it's going to be. Here's my guess. And I'm pretty good at these guesses. Like, for example, if you remember years ago when we were looking at Watch Dogs Legion, and everyone said, how could it be possible that every character is a unique character that has their own story? And I said, they're not. I guarantee you they're all going to have archetypes. There'll be the driver, there'll be the old woman, there'll be this, that, and they'll just be archetypes. And yes, the characters will be unique in those archetypes, but it's only going to be unique stories for the archetype only. I hit it right on the fucking head. That's exactly what they did to cut corners. Okay? So here's what I'm thinking. let's say they claim there's 1,000 planets. First of all, that's false. There's probably going to be a bunch of major planets, and then there's going to be moons or asteroids. But they're still going to count those as planets, even though they're not. As long as it's something that's landable and interactable, they say it's a planet. Doesn't mean it's a planet, but they're going to call it a planet anyway. Okay? So right off the bat, let's say you have the solar system. Every moon in the solar system will count as a planet, even though all those moons will be boring. Except for maybe the human moon. I guarantee you all the other moons will be barren, boring, nothing there. But hey, you can land there and get a resource, so it's a planet. So right off the bat, right? The solar system, you would think would only be like, you know, maybe 10 bodies or something to interact with. Oh no, they'll say it's like 50. Because of all those moons. They all count, right? Oh, okay. I see. So that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to have these systems where maybe in each system, there'll be like 5 to 10 meaningful planets you can land on, and each planet may have like one town, and then the story-based planets will be the robust ones, which will have major civilizations plus, you know, dungeons and or iterations where you do content. But I guarantee you that each planet, we have one thing to do on each, and then all those other things out there will just be for mining and or resources. There's absolutely no fucking way that there's 1,000 unique planets with things to do on them. That's nuts and ridiculous, and it's not even realistic, but it's their fault for saying it the way that they did, right? They just shouldn't say planets. They're not planets. They should say bodies. Like, you can land 1,000 places in the game, but by the way, probably only maybe 100, if that, will have anything meaningful on them. That would be an accurate representation of what the game would be, but they're not going to say that because they want it to sound better than it is. Green Goblin says, like Spider-Man 2 on PS2, there was a bunch of questions. They were all the same repetitive quests. The protagonist will not be voiced, unlike Fallout 4. I don't really care as long as it's interesting enough. I don't think that you necessarily need to have a voice. Right? Michelangelo 505 says, I feel Starfield's combat AI looks weak. Should be the last priority these days in RPGs. They also mentioned they're using a new animation system. This might be a shortcoming. From all they showed, the enemies look terrible. Like, the enemies look incredibly generic. Nothing unique about them whatsoever. And they look like they just stand around. Right? Like, everything they showed of the combat. Oh, well, I like to use my jetpack and fly above the enemies and throw mines down and blow them up. Okay, why are the enemies just fucking standing there? Right? Oh, I like to run in with my fists. Okay, why is the enemy just standing there while you punch it? Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully you're not like the $6 million man and you're super fast and you're running through and you're the only one with all these abilities and everyone else is just a fucking dummy that you shoot or kill instantly. I hope not. The other thing, and I'm going to be abundantly clear about this one. When you're in space, all right, what's the one interesting thing about the possibility in outer space that's interesting that you think you'd want to be in this game? Okay? Aliens. Alien races. Other intelligent life that you find yourself opposed fighting. So far, all they've shown are animals, like wild animal creatures. They haven't shown any intelligent life to fight against. It's all humans in space. I think that's going to end up being fucking boring. Because again, it's going to be like Fallout. Like, you're in fucking space. There absolutely better be aliens in this fucking game. If not, I think you missed the mark. You know what I'm saying? It's like maybe scratch my head like, how are there no fucking aliens? Anyway. Swaggins, oh, this is funny. Swaggins says, people with $5,000 PCs will be laughing at us because they're going to play Starfield at 120 frames per second while console players are stuck at 30. What would you say to them? I would say, good luck. You'll need it with the track record that we have seen with launch PC games in the last couple of years. I'd be very excited to see if you're going to get good performance or not, or if this game's going to be another fucking mess at launch. That's all I'm going to say. Grim Ripper did a $2 super chat. Says, when I saw Starfield, it looked like No Man's Sky. I'll tell you this, absolutely. The planet exploration looks like No Man's Sky. But I think the reason is No Man's Sky actually kind of was trying to hit this first and just couldn't do it. Like, No Man's Sky was ambitious. No Man's Sky wanted to make Starfield, but it was made by an indie dev team. As we saw, you know, when I did the big Internet Historian React 2 months ago, and it went through the history of No Man's Sky, and all of that, and it showed that Sean Murray was someone who was ambitious but just didn't have the means to do what he wanted to do. I think they wanted to make this game. They just couldn't do it. You needed a ginormous, storied, experienced, well-funded studio like Bethesda to actually pull off the game. Right? So that's the way I see it. Is that's why it looks like that, because this is the culmination of the idea of what No Man's Sky wanted to do. Now you might say, well, isn't it lame that they're not doing something original? Yes. I said that last year when they first showed the original Starfield presentation. I said, why did they just take No Man's Sky and combine it with Fallout? Because that's literally what the game is. It's all the elements in No Man's Sky they couldn't pull off combined with the Fallout engine. And I got shat on. Oh, you're just being a hater. I was like, no, that's literally what the game is. Are you not seeing that? It's just you're taped two franchises together to try to make a better game. Now, again, it could work. It absolutely, positively could work. But I don't know if it will or not. I'm going to reserve my judgment until I actually play the game.
Go. I got the drip going. 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 I got the drip going.
It's like a faucet that's dripping. You can't make it stop. So what do you want me to do? Have a mute button that every second I'm tapping the mute button just in case I'm gonna have to clear? Like, this is what I mean. These dumb kids. This is what it is. It's dumb kids.